Welcome to the Empowerment Hour podcast, your digital classroom where individuals across all ages, backgrounds, and career levels tune in to get their weekly dose of inspiration and motivation. It's where passion and purpose intersect. I am your host, Nancy Ruffin, the self-proclaimed Latina Oprah and your very own personal success coach. My goal is to help you discover your purpose and take inspired action so that you create a life where you feel fulfilled and empowered. So if you're ready to start living on purpose, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Empowerment Hour
and
podcast,
I am your host, Nancy Ruffin.
Thank you for tuning
We are
in
back
and for rocking with us for yet
another week.
To kick things off
this
week, I want to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month that kicked off September 15th. And really, it's just a month-long celebration and recognition of the contributions that Latinos and Latinas have made to this country. So Hispanic Heritage Month starts September 15th and lasts through October 15th. And I particularly love this month because it really highlights how much we and our ancestors have really contributed to the foundation of this country. And when you think about politically the state of the country, the fact that we have a president and an administration who is trying to strip away basic rights of some of the Latinos in this country, I think it's even more important that we celebrate and acknowledge all of the great things that our people have contributed, whether it's in politics, whether it's entertainment and the arts, whether it's science. There is a long list of our people who have done some really great things, and many of whom have contributed to the very foundation of this country and what it was built upon. So for this month, I am going to be, acknowledging and celebrating both famous Latinos and not so famous Latinos, because I think that even though it's great that there are some Latinos that have achieved certain levels of fame and wealth, the real work really is happening on a day-to-day basis within our communities. And I know plenty of Latinos who are out there and are really doing the work, and they're really making a difference in the community and in the lives of others. I have been particularly blessed to work with and connect with amazing Latinas, and one that immediately comes to mind is my girl Melody Centeno. She is the founder and CEO of Foster Care Unplugged. And because she is a former foster child, she has dedicated her entire life, to giving back to foster care children and really providing them with some of the things that she didn't have when she was in foster care. And so when we look at women like Melody who are really doing this on the ground work and are really touching people directly, that's how you start affecting change. Because, when we're talking about working with some of the most vulnerable communities, which in her case are foster care kids, we all know children are our future. And if we don't grab them while they're still young, then we lose them when they get older. So I really, tip my hat off to Melody for this work that she does, because that is not an easy group or an easy population, because they already have trust issues. They're already starting off guarded and not believing, the things that, someone like Melody may be coming in, to tell them about how life gets better. But in her case, it's different because she has been where they are. So she can speak to their perspective from firsthand experience. And I've been really lucky to know her, to work with her, to partner with her on certain initiatives. And so when I say that I want to recognize, everyday Latinos, it's people like her who I think really deserve this recognition, because it's the ones that are doing the work day in and day out, that are really going to change this country, that are really going to change this world, and just the perception that unfortunately some of the world has towards Latinos. I mean, it's no secret that Donald Trump has a large support base that believe and share his views. And I think that for a long time, many of us, we walked around with blinders on, and maybe we just didn't want to believe that racism is as alive as it is in this country. And, with Donald Trump winning the presidency, I guess the one good thing about that is that it revealed how much more work we have to do when it comes to really becoming inclusive and being united. And I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to change racist views, because I think that is something that it's kind of ingrained in you, and you're raised with those beliefs, and it takes a lot of unlearning and willingness to unlearn those views. And I think that that particular group they're afraid of losing their superiority. And so those racist views are going to be really hard to change, but we can't give up the fight, right? We have to keep working towards that. And so for me, I really love Hispanic Heritage Month. It's a way that we get to celebrate ourselves and really show the rest of the world, how truly amazing and great we are. I also wanted to talk a little bit about something that's happening this week in New York City, and that's the Urban World Film Festival. And so for those of you who may not be familiar with the film festival, what it is a 5-day festival, really focused and anchored in films, and it premieres films from aspiring directors and kinds of unknowns, and it really showcases narrative and documentary features, short films, screenings, and conversations. And they are partnered, I guess the founding partner was HBO. And really, it is a way to just provide up-and-coming filmmakers a way to get, their films out into the world and to really launch. And so this is a huge deal because a lot of the famous filmmakers that we know today started, got their start at the Urban World Film Festivals. And one that immediately comes to mind is Ava DuVernay, and if you're familiar with her, she is the female director that directed the movie Selma. She has that show that I love, with the family, the farms. What the heck is the name? I think it's on BET. Oh my gosh, I have it on the tip of my tongue because I watch the show, but anyway, I can't recall at the moment. But I mean, you guys know who Ava DuVernay is, and God, what the hell is the name of that show? It's with Blue and Ralph Angel, and the sisters. Hold on. I am going to just Google her because I need to know the name of the show. Anyway, I can't remember right now, and Google is not working fast enough for me. But she's also in the process of directing the movie The Central Park 5, which is telling the story of the 5 men who got convicted for the rape of the Central Park jogger, which we later know was they were not guilty, as they had originally had always said. They were always maintaining the innocence, and until they couldn't anymore. And I think they eventually they pled guilty or were found guilty, and they spent a lot of years in prison, and they were recently released maybe a couple of years ago. And now Ava is telling their story, and so that's something that I really look forward to. But anyway, so back, and I'm still trying to find the name of this damn show. Queen Sugar, how could I forget? Yes, and it's on the OWN network, not on BET. But yes, so she is an amazing filmmaker. And so the Urban World Festival is really where she kind of got started. And so this week there are a number of movies premiering there. One is Night School, which stars Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish. And then the other one that I'm really excited about is The Hate U Give. And that one stars, I believe, Issa Rae from HBO's Insecure, Amanda Stanberg, and I think Common, the rapper. And so I say all that to say that I will be covering the red carpet for this event. And I'm super excited because this is probably my first official red carpet event that I am covering as a member of the press for this podcast, The Empowerment Hour. I had to go pick up my credentials this week, and I'm just really excited about it. Originally I was really excited about meeting Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish and getting to interview them. And they're going to be on the red carpet Wednesday night, opening night, because I think that's when Night School premieres. But then I found out that Ava is actually going to be doing some of the closing of the festival on Saturday, the 22nd. That's when The Hate U Give premieres, and there's going to be a Q&A after the movie. And so I'm really excited. I hope that I can get at least 2 minutes with Ava. So I'm just super, super excited. And I mean, the Urban World Film Festival is open to the public. So if you are interested in participating and being there and seeing some of these films, you can head over to their website, urbanworld.org, and you can purchase tickets to the screenings. You can purchase passes that will give you all access to all of the screenings and all of the events and all of the after parties. There's a ton of stuff that's going to be happening September 19th through September 23rd right here in New York City. So if you want, to partake in all of the fun stuff that's happening, then head over to their website, and look at what might interest you, on which films you might be interested in seeing, and purchase a ticket, and if I see you on the red carpet, I will pull you over. We can chat. It'll be a great old time. But I say all this to say, because the fact that I'm pursuing, I guess what you can call this new career in media. And even when I say that, it doesn't sound real to me, because when I initially started this podcast, I never thought of myself as a media personality. It was not anything that I ever aspired to be. It's not a dream that I had from when I was a child. It was just another way for me to use my voice on a different platform. I'm a writer, and so I'm very used to and very comfortable using my voice on the page and writing my voice. And so I felt that the podcast would just be an extension of that, just in a different way on a different platform. And so that was really what it started as. And I guess the more episodes I did, and the more comfortable I became on the mic, and then the, I guess, reception that I received from my listeners, from you, from the podcast community, the fact that people are paying attention to what I'm doing, what I'm saying, the fact that the podcast was nominated, for Best Podcast this year at the Hispanicized Tecla Awards. This was all unimaginable to me. I had never in my wildest dream thought that I would even be recognized in that way. And yet here I am. And I come back to the mic week after week because I owe it to you to be here, to show up, to share my story, and to inspire you and to motivate you and to let you know that you are not alone. That whatever you're feeling right now, that unsureness, the confusion, maybe you feel unworthy, maybe you're confused, maybe you don't know what's the next step in your life, maybe you're stuck, right? All of those things I have experienced. I have been there. And so I come here every week and I share different parts of my life and I share different parts of my story because I want you to realize that you're not alone, that we're never alone in this world, even when we think that we're the only ones going through whatever it is that we're going through. And so today, what I really wanted to talk about, is late bloomers. Right? Those people who find success later on in life, and when we think about blooming, I remember, as a young girl, right? When we think about how our young girls bloom into young women, I was a late bloomer. I was not someone who was, physically endowed, from a really early age. I mean, up until probably in my 20s, I was a tomboy, right? So I had no curves. I was super skinny. I used to wear sweatpants under my jeans just so that I could look a little bit thicker. I mean, I had no body, okay? And so when you're a Latina and you see images of what, quote unquote, traditional Latina women look like, we're supposed to be curvaceous and have that sex appeal and be that, spicy hot tamale. I was not that. I still don't consider myself sexy in that way, but, I was a late bloomer, and so I didn't really come into myself probably into my mid-20s, and that is hard to navigate when you're a young girl and where you might see your girlfriends are getting all of this different type of attention from men because of the way that they look, and then those are things also that we kind of have to overcome and we have to deal with and navigate through. And that's another topic for another show. But to kind of get back to where I'm going with this podcast about being a late bloomer, the same thing applies, to our life and to our careers and to where we envision ourselves ultimately being, right? Because we live in a society that subconsciously or subliminally tells us that we should achieve certain things or certain milestones by a certain age, so you have to be, in your 20s, that's when you should be graduating college. You should, your 30s was when you should be really thinking about settling down and starting a family and purchasing a home and being secure in your career. And like all of these unrealistic BS goals that are set by who? Whose standards? And so when I kind of think back to myself now and this whole new career path that I am starting to navigate on, I'm 41 years old, right? There are people who have been in the media game for years, who started in their 20s, right? And here I am. Who do I think I am at 41 years old to think that I can achieve any kind of success? Well, you know what? I absolutely think that I can achieve success. For me, at 41, this is my prime. I feel like I'm just starting because at this point in my life, I am so secure in who I am that no one or anything break me, and I think that that's the difference when we talk about age, that once you reach a certain age, hopefully you have gone through enough things in life that nothing can break you anymore because you've already been broken and now you've rebuilt yourself and you're so solid that you're unstoppable, that you're untouchable. And that's exactly how I feel. So the fact that I'm 41 and the fact that I'm starting something new, yes, it is scary. But I have never been so sure about anything in my life. And one thing that I know about myself is that once I set my mind on doing something, it's going to happen. I never know how. I never know when. But I do know that as long as I stay focused, as I stay consistent, and as long as I do the work, it is going to happen. Because that is just how life works. If you keep at something long enough, you are going to get the result that you want. Well, except if you're in an unhealthy relationship that is eating you up and breaking you down, then I advise you to get out of that until that other person heals themselves. Because that's one thing. We can only change ourselves. We can't change other people. But I digress. This is not a podcast about that. That too is another episode for another day. So when I think about all of the people who never start on the things that they want to do because in their mind, they tell themselves that they should have started earlier, is like, why are you wasting your time even thinking about that? So what you didn't start earlier? Like, start now. Don't wait another day. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week, right? Since you've already feel like you've waited long enough. If there's something that you want to do, start it today. Nothing is stopping you. The only thing that stops you is you. And I want to share just a few people, huge celebrities now, that got their start late in the game. Immediately, someone that comes to mind is Samuel Jackson. He's probably one of, the biggest names in acting. And he didn't get his big break until he was 43. And you know what the role was that gave him his big break? It was playing a crackhead on Jungle Fever. In Jungle Fever. And if you recall that movie, then you also know that Halle Berry was in that movie, and she too played a crackhead in the movie. Okay? So the fact that that was the film that got him his big break, and he was 43, and look at where he is now. Everyone knows Samuel Jackson, right? When we look at the comic writer, Stan Lee, he created his first hit comic at the age of 39. Which was the Fantastic Four. And we see now how huge a success the Fantastic Four has been, right? And from that, a few years later, so he created the Fantastic Four when he was 39. A few years later, he created the legendary Marvel Universe, right? Which we now know includes characters such as Spider-Man and the X-Men and all of these huge superheroes, right? That we all know and love and grew up with. He didn't develop that until he was in his 40s. Vera Wang, who is probably the most famous wedding dress designer, didn't get into fashion until she was 40 years old. Prior to that, she was, I believe, a journalist and a figure skater, right? I mean, so who is to say that you are too old to go after your dreams? And this is why, for me, I feel like I'm just getting started. As long as I'm alive, as long as I have breath in my body, and I have the willingness, desire, and passion, there is nothing that I won't do if it's in my heart to do. And this is what I want you to do for yourself. I don't know what dreams you have. I don't know who has told you that your dreams are impossible. I don't know who has told you that you are too old to do this or too old to do that, or you don't have the resources, or you're a mom and your kids are too young, or you're a wife and you need to be focused on taking care of your husband and the home and this and that. Whatever it is that people tell you and you have allowed to get in your ear, I need you to silence that. I need you to sit with yourself, dig deep within yourself, look at those dreams and desires that you've been holding onto or pushing back or ignoring, and allow yourself to make those dreams a reality. You owe it to yourself to live a life that is fulfilling, a life where you are happy, a life that you are passionate about, that you wake up in the morning and you're excited, to work on that thing. We all deserve that. And so don't concern yourself over the fact that you might be too old. There's no such thing. When you're too old, when you're dead, okay? When you're dead and you're in the ground, or they cremated you, or whatever, that's when you're too old, because that's when you won't be able to do anything. And the last thing that you want is to die with unrealized passions, with unrealized dreams. You want to leave something behind that is going to live on far longer than you did. You want people to remember you. And it doesn't have to be a huge dream that you're chasing, right? You don't have to want to be this huge media personality or be someone famous or have tons of money, right? That's not what I'm talking about. But you know what? It might be that you want to go back to school, and maybe you're 45 and maybe your kid is in college right now. And so you feel like it doesn't make sense for you to also go back to school. But you know what? If that is your dream, you should go for it. There's no reason why you should not have the degree and get that education if that's something that you want. Get out of your head. Don't let others take up space in your head. Only you have the power to either stop yourself or push yourself. In the end, the choice is yours. So what excuses have you been telling yourself that have been preventing you from blossoming into the beautiful flower that God has created you to be? That is the question that I want to end this podcast with tonight. I want you to take some time, sit with yourself, really reflect on your life, on where you are at this phase in your life. And maybe you have accomplished your dreams. And if you have, that's wonderful, because then you know how amazing it is to be living the life that you have always imagined for yourself. However, if you are not there yet, if you feel that there is something missing in your life, if you feel that you're not fulfilled in every area of your life, then you owe it to yourself to manifest that into your life. We only live once. Life is short. There's no reason why you should not be living the life that you want and that you deserve. So on that note, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for rocking with me for another week. Make sure that you are celebrating the Latinos in your life that have and are making a difference in our communities. If you know someone who is doing something great, tell them, let them know, acknowledge them. And until next time, mi gente, go out there and crush those goals.